How you doing?
And we are ready to bring you Bad Batch Season 3, Episode 9.
The Harbinger. Yeah. So someone's got some news to bring. This episode begins with Wrecker and an annoyed Crosshair, seemingly, helping out like the locals, basically, and Omega and Batcher are kind of playing on the beach, messing around. And pretty quickly, Batcher starts acting strangely and like sniffing around, and Omega follows her, and into like a cave, basically.
Yeah, into a cavern.
But Batcher's not trying to go in there.
Yeah, Batcher's like, something's wrong
says a lot.
here.
Yeah. So Omega just kind of sneaks in, looks around, and she finds a ship.
That she's like, this hasn't been here before.
Right.
And then all of a sudden, you see a quick white figure come up, and she's like, hey, let me go. And then they cut. And then we get another cut of the Bad Batch coming down to the beach area, basically. And when I say that, it's Crosshair, it's Hunter, it's Wrecker, and then they see Batcher come freaking out, and Crosshair's like, hey, Hunter.
Yeah. So they start running towards them, and then cut back to
the cavern opening, and who do we have here?
Right.
Asajj Ventress, man.
The Clone Wars champ. Someone who, if you watch Clone Wars, you grew to love. As a character for sure. And we saw her development and all this stuff, but the Bad Batch didn't.
Yeah.
So like throughout this whole episode, they're just going on.
They just have her separatist record, basically.
Right. Which we'll get into. Yeah, they find that. But yeah, they
have lots of questions
right away. Are like, who the hell are you? And she's like, I came. Fennec Shan sent. We saw Fennec Shan in the last episode on comms talking to somebody before it ended.
You gave what I thought was a great put out there of being like it was Sid, but clearly it was Asajj Ventress.
That was great. But also, like, Hunter's like, what do you mean? Like, we didn't give her our coordinates. Like, so it's still like.
Again, at that end of the episode, she was like, Fennec, at the end of episode 8, Fennec was like, it was a bunch of clones. I will give you everything I have on them, and like, you can go do your own thing. And
of course, Asajj could find that. We know that.
Once we find out it is Asajj Ventress, you're like, oh, of course she will be able to put these puzzle pieces together and figure it out.
Right, but Hunter doesn't know that. And they don't know that. So Ventress kind of like skips past all that, and she's like, who's been like recklessly asking about the M count thing? Like, if I got here, the Empire is going to hear about this. Like, who's been the idiot?
Yeah.
And they're just like, quickly, Omega's like, we're just asking for a friend, like, unconvincingly as hell. Like,
it's so funny.
And Ventress kind of gives a quick layout and explains what an M count kind of is.
Yeah.
Like, she doesn't like go into it like the prequels did, like, but she does say like that does correlate with being a Jedi. To which Omega's like, wait, am I a Jedi? And she's like, no, that takes training.
In my notes,
like, correlation doesn't mean causation. So just because you have an M count, that's high, doesn't mean you're a Jedi. But if you have a high M count, if you are a Jedi, you probably have a high M count, or you do have a high M count.
But it's funny because in our notes, when Omega was teaching Crosshair to meditate, and she was like, I learned it from my friend Gungi.
Yeah.
And I was like, oh my gosh, are we going to see Omega? In our notes, I was like, are we going to see Omega and Crosshair become Jedi now through their meditation?
Right.
And like, now we get this with Asajj Ventress and stuff, and I was like, maybe I'm right.
Yeah, no, they're leading to her being a Jedi. I don't know if a Jedi is the right word anymore right now, because clearly, like, there's not many Jedi to be training her right now.
Absolutely.
So it's basically just she needs to train with somebody.
She needs to she needs to be tested to see like what kind of count she has to begin with.
Yeah, Ventress agrees to a tester, which is pretty funny because I don't think Omega's used to the tests that she's about to go through. She's used to more like the scientific blood tests and things like that are more science-based.
Or even having to try and figure out how to do an escape plan, get in and out of a place, something more similar to what she has been doing since she's got in with the Bad Batch.
Again, more like,
soldier.
Yeah, a soldier thinking like just very logically is my point, like scientifically, logically, like to the point where we get this other side of her where she's meditating and doing this spiritual stuff too. So she is a little more open than, say, the Bad Batch. But this is going to be a real test where she starts off. The first test is Ventress has her like balancing on one foot and with a fruit on her head, and she's just basically telling her to like chill, like calm down, and before anything. And Omega's just really having a hard time with it.
Let go of your conscious mind. Like, man, hearing that line coming from Ventress, though, of all people,
but
like,
also
like crazy.
Omega's question, like, what is it? What's a conscious? What's that? Like,
what does that even mean?
So like, as great as that saying is, it's lost on a child. Like there's great sayings out there that people used to tell me all the time that were just empty platitudes because I didn't understand most of the words in it.
Yeah.
So it is great for us, but for Omega it kind of was meaningless at that point. So yeah, she's kind of like, no, I don't know. She's like, what's with this? Are you a Jedi? And Ventress is quickly like, no, I just know.
I just know some of their ways.
Yeah.
And enough questions. Let's like you got to start concentrating, Omega. And then like she does. Omega concentrates. She takes in her deep breath and she finds her balance. And then that's where Crosshair comes back with his like thing.
But before that, I love when Hunter and Wrecker are on the side and they're cheering her on.
Oh yeah,
that's like
Wrecker,
maybe my favorite part of this entire episode.
Yeah, Wrecker being like, "Come on, Omega,
like,
you can do it."
It was awesome. Just like proud parents, like totally. And yeah, that's so. Anyway, they cut back to Crosshair coming back with the data pad and being like, "Yo, she has like these separatist files. She was like a war criminal.
Yeah.
Maybe we shouldn't be letting our little." Omega be with her.
Yeah, right. And like, so then Asajj Ventress, she sends out Omega on another test to get a white flower from the tree up in the city center. And the Bad Batch are like, why is the Separatist assassin trying to help us? Like, why? What is going on here? And then we get the Ventress versus Bad Batch fight, and this is
that's fun.
This is pretty awesome.
Yeah, so it's cool because Omega runs off, grabs Batcher, and is just like kind of on her way to get the white blossom.
Yeah.
And Ventress quickly just kind of like disarms all the Batch members, and then like
no cheating.
Kind of just they have to have a fight with their fists, and it's close combat. Close combat, and a Jedi's always going to win in a close combat fight like that, especially. And she's just kind of wiping the floor with him as Omega kind of is just like quickly getting through this.
Yeah.
Like she's climbed to the top. She like gets that white blossom pretty quickly.
She really does. It's actually like kind of crazy how quickly she gets it.
Just shows how like this one she was ready for this one, right? Like she's definitely been training for something like this at least. But yeah, she gets up there and but I love when after she gets it, she jumps on Batcher.
Yeah.
And just like hurries down the hill. Because as she's hurrying down the hill, she runs into Ventress and them fighting, and Ventress is just force choking Wrecker, holding a lightsaber.
Even before that, how about the reveal of Ventress's yellow,
that's what I mean about
lightsaber?
This is awesome. Like we're getting.
So hold on, we also got to talk about this too. If you have been a major Star Wars fan and followed like everything, the expanded universe, the books and stuff, you are very much so being like, WTF, why is Ventress here?
Yeah, how is she even alive?
Because if you followed the books, in the book, Dark Disciple, it is assumed, spoilers for Dark Disciple if you haven't read it.
Right.
Jump
skip
forward.
20 seconds.
Yeah, skip 20 seconds, 30 seconds above it next on here while we talk about it. Start skipping that now. Ventress dies, or is assumed dead by Count Dooku's Force Lightning in Dark Disciple.
Right.
So seeing her here in Bad Batch is very like it's
like,
already kind of like shocking and stuff.
Yeah.
No pun intended with that on her supposed death.
Right.
And so it's just crazy seeing her here. And now seeing the yellow lightsaber though is very interesting.
Like what she's gone through since then.
Right. Because I almost would have expected to see like kind of what we saw with like in Ahsoka, almost like a white lightsaber at this point.
Yeah.
But like seeing a yellow, almost like again with what we know of like Rey and her constructing hers and making hers and her being a yellow one, you would
wasn't Plo Koon's yellow too? I think.
Possibly.
Someone's was yellow. Yeah. Anyway, yeah, but yellow is an important Jedi color.
Exactly. So seeing it here does like when Omega's like, "Are you have to be a Jedi?" and she's like, "Yeah,
no.
not
She's
really."
very much the opposite end of Ahsoka.
Yeah.
That's why they worked well together eventually. Like that's why they were like enemies at first. Like usually you hate people that are like show you versions of like the things that you don't like about yourself. So they're basically that, and that's why they hated each other and were bumping heads. But eventually they had to work together, and it worked out. So she's basically Ahsoka in the dark side. So she's kind of coming to her own terms of just being like, well, it doesn't matter because the Empire's the worst, and whatever's going on there is way darker than I ever wanted to go. You know, she's a nice sister. She grew up in, like, darkness was kind of inevitable, right? Yeah. So the fact that she's even attempting to be more neutral or whatever, chaotic good or whatever, she's gone through a lot.
Absolutely. And so, like, seeing this change is awesome. I love seeing this character development and whatnot. Because it was truly shocking, like, when you saw, and it was, like, full on, like, it was Asajj Ventress here, and, like, all of this was, like, crazy.
Oh, yeah, she was, she's top of her game still, it seems like.
Yeah, but Ventress makes some great points here. She's like, we were all pawns in the same war, and we all lost.
Yeah, none of us won anything.
Like, we were all on the losing side, and, like, going back to what you were just saying a second ago, like, the Empire is the most dangerous thing. Yeah. Like, this is our like, common ally. This is
imagine the worst thing that happened during the Clone Wars. The Empire will do way worse. Yeah. That's what she's basically like. What are we doing here?
Yeah. What are we doing?
Why are we even having this conversation? You guys did bad stuff. I did bad stuff. If it was me and a bunch of separatists finding you guys right now, maybe we'd be like, they're war criminals, right? So like. It's like, let's get past that real quick because
which is cool. Which is also cool to see because we saw it in an earlier episode with Rex and the senators meeting together and all of that. It was like the Senator Singh was even like, we were on different sides of the war before.
And then Fennec coming back, and not that she was ever an enemy, but perceived at least. I mean, she's definitely not like on their side. No, it's more like she's just on whatever her own side, I guess.
Yeah.
But yeah, so it's pretty cool because they after this fight they kind of are going back to their ship.
Yeah, and Omega calms them down. Like Ventress lets them all down, and they kind of go their separate ways.
Yeah, Ventress lets them go basically.
By
her own will.
Yeah, absolutely.
And then they walk to the ship, and Omega is like pestering about like trusting Ventress, and they're giving her guff and Crosshair. Yeah, Crosshair. This was a great moment because you're thinking it throughout the whole episode. Like, who are you to be saying like we can trust her, we couldn't, blah blah blah. Like, what you did should be unforgivable then too, right? So she calls him out for that. She's like, no, I'm gonna go ahead and put my trust where I know it needs to be, and you guys do whatever you want, but I'm gonna go through with this test,
right?
And
she called like when she says to Crosshair, like, I never gave up on you, like
there's nothing he could say. That's it.
It's like, Mike, drop.
Right.
It was great.
Yeah. Next morning, like basically,
they're out on the water.
Omega goes to Ventress for a third and final test. Then they get on a boat. Yep. They go out of the ocean. Then it's funny because the batch is like watching unconvincingly, like on the shore, like they don't want to. They're like, I still don't trust all this.
Yeah. Wrecker's even like, how does she know that we're always watching?
Yeah, because Ventress is annoyed because she's like, can't they seriously? Like they need to leave us alone with this. Good thing they don't. But anyway. Soon, they're like, they're out on the boat, and she tells Omega to like reach out for everything, and clearly, again, that's very what?
What does that even mean?
So like, Omega tries for like better or worse, and it doesn't work out too well. So Ventress uses this as a teaching moment, and she shows her, and she reaches out for everything, and with that, she communicates with like some sea creatures, and these fish come around. They're like glowing, and they're pretty cool. And Omega's like, "Whoa, what is all this?" And they start scurrying though, and Ventress looks kind of like, "Uh-oh, what'd I do?" And she's like, soon realizes she also called something that she didn't want to call.
Yeah.
With calling out to everything. Not everything's cute and fuzzy.
I call it the Gamera of the Star Wars world. It's like a giant turtle with like octopus or squid kind of arms attached to it
giant
as well.
Squid monster.
It's a great kaiju. Great looking kaiju.
Definitely.
For sure, without a doubt. But
the two are knocked off the boat, and Omega is being like dragged under into the depths, and luckily Ventress uses her lightsaber, cuts off the tentacle and stuff.
Cuts off the tentacle and does a really great move though. Cuts off the tentacle, gets Omega free, and then pushes off of the one other tentacle to shoot him up out of the water and stuff. Like, it's great. Yeah,
it's so cool. And that's when while all that's happening, the boys ran to their ship. And they're up on the Marauder right now above them, like shooting at it. Yeah. And this is like just irritating the creature. It's not doing anything. It's not helping Omega and Ventress. So Omega gets them to stop because Ventress is like, that's not helping. Is like,
you're making it worse. You're making it worse.
Yeah, exactly. So they stop. Ventress is able to like calm and use the Force to calm the animal. Yeah. And
the same thing we've seen Ezra and Ahsoka do, like Ezra and Rebels, Ahsoka in her own series, Ahsoka. Like,
it's a very Dave Filoni element for sure. Like, not that George Lucas, but he very much wants you to know that like there's a larger communication with the Force. That the Force isn't only with like human, of course, animals will be tapped into it too. So you'd be able to.
And that's something that Ventress even says to Omega, like earlier when Omega's struggling to reach out herself. She's like, you know, people who have high M counts, Jedi, Force users, wielders, whatever, they have this very big potential to tap into like nature and the things around them, and then that is like ultimately what Ventress does, and
which we'll get into more, I'm sure, in the Acolyte series, which I'm excited for. But yeah, we'll get into more like different forms of nature and whatever. So, so the Batch picks him up as the creature leaves. And later, Ventress tells them that she doesn't think Omega has they're back at the cave basically by herself. And she's like, no, I don't think Omega's got anything. No M count.
I don't think she has a high M count.
It's nothing. It's not. It's got to be something else the Empire wants. And
Omega's like, well, I am a target, so there has to be something there.
She's like, oh, I don't know. It's not that though.
And Wrecker just being the great like cuddly adult like parent figure of being like, don't worry about it. Don't worry about it, Omega. Let's just grab some chow.
Yeah, exactly. Let's get ice cream, basically. Like a good
you know, like you did your challenge. You did a great job. Like you tried your best. You know, like you deserve. Let's go. Let's just go get something to eat and call it a day.
Nothing better for a kid.
Yeah.
So she's a little down in the dumps. They walk away, and
then
Hunter and Crosshair calls her out like, nah.
You're a liar.
Yeah, exactly. He knows a liar.
Yeah, right.
And he's like, no, I don't believe it. And she's like, yeah, well, it doesn't matter. You know what I mean? Like, they're coming anyway, and she can't do it without training. And you guys are like a very close family, and I could see you're not going to just let her go be trained. Yeah. So I don't know. I can't do anything. You know what I mean?
Yeah,
like,
I can't.
You might as well not even entertain the idea and just figure it out, because I can't do anything for her.
Because at this point, that's the thing. That's what they were able to do with Omega, is that they were able to transfer midichlorians into a clone for the first time and keep a high level from like what their original cloning midichlorian person that they used, to keep a high level.
Which is something the Emperor has clearly tries to do.
Right. As you keep watching,
Rey ends up happening. So another that's not the first time we've seen a clone. So like the fact that it's already happened, it clearly happened in the past. So maybe Omega has some connection to Rey. Maybe there's you know what I mean. There's tons of things that they can go down at this point, and it's fun. But yeah, Ventress basically leaves with this warning that like, Pabu's not as safe as you think it is. If I could find you, like the Empire's definitely gonna be able to. Yeah, like you got to get out of here,
and you guys better hurry.
Yep.
But Hunter's also like, aren't you worried about the Empire coming after you? And she's like, they can try, but I have a few lives left. And I was
Yeah.
like, God damn it!
Exactly,
I love
which is
it!
they addressed the thing.
Yeah, they addressed
They're
it.
like, yeah, that happened, but she didn't die.
Yeah.
Like, we've seen Darth Maul go through it. We've seen
Right?
other characters. That's clearly a thing that happens all the time. So
Yeah, seeing these people who we would expect to have died from these things, but them being so tied to the dark side at that point that their hatred and stuff somehow keeps them alive.
Yeah.
Like, it's crazy.
Yeah.
But that is the end of the episode then. Like, Ventress says that, we get a cut to black, it rolls the credits and everything. Man, season 3, final season of Bad Batch has been awesome.
Loving it.
It's so great.
And I hope to see more of her in future Star Wars projects. So, like, hopefully that was just
that's a
door
tease to bring
opening.
her back.
Yeah.
I mean,
Because there's clearly a lot to explain with her character, and if Filoni's doing this like Ahsoka verse, basically Mando verse, whatever you want to call it, they need to add more depth. And
I mean, if Cad Bane shows up in live action, Ventress is showing up in live
she could
action.
show up.
So, like,
especially with storylines going
the way that they are.
Yeah.
So, like,
and now that we know she's still alive. Like,
and now that we know she's still alive.
But does she last that? I don't know.
Right. Could she sacrifice herself at the end of Bad Batch in the series in the season series finale?
Right.
Possibly.
Hopefully it was
hopefully
the door
it's
opening
not
for a new series.
I agree. I hope that it's more of her coming back.
And maybe not her. Maybe it's not about her, but she just shows up in that new series. That would be nice.
It would be It'd be crazy if from Ahsoka, if like Ahsoka season 2 or Mando season 4, if we see them go to Dathomir and we see like Thrawn, spoilers for Ahsoka, Thrawn showing up on Dathomir with the Great Mothers and stuff, and Ventress sitting there like controlling everything.
Well, I already can't wait for that because
that would be crazy.
He's definitely going to bring back some Night Brothers, and that's already going to be cool to see. Like
it's gonna be
zombie Night Brothers and
it's gonna be
zombie
great.
witches.
It's gonna be awesome. So with that, we're gonna go ahead and wrap up episode 9 of Bad Batch. I am Jimmy with the Triple C Collective,
and I'm Collin. Meet you back on episode 10.
And we want to thank you all for joining us. We hope you all stay safe. Please like and subscribe to our video and to our channel. And as always, may the Force be with you.